Okay, up to Mishlei 1523. Simcha la'ish b'ma'aneh fiv v'davar be'ito matov.
There is joy to a person in the answer or like response of his mouth.
Yeah.
And matter in its time. What good?
What good? Okay, yeah. Okay, so first ambiguity. So that's pretty straightforward, but there is an ambiguity here because you notice that I would have translated the same way as Isaac of reply or response or answer. But Matsuda ציון says b'ma'aneh is inyan amira. It just means a statement. Okay. And the proof text he gives is interesting, is Hashem ma'aneh lashon, which we I guess did in my Monday night Mishlei shiur earlier. This is La'adam ma'archei lev u'Hashem ma'aneh lashon. To man belong the arrangements of his thought or his heart or his mind, but from Hashem is the tongue's. So you could translate it as the tongue's reply, but there are a lot of meforshim who say like just it's talking about speech, you know. So I guess it could just be a statement. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say here statement of his mouth. Okay, all right. So that's Matsudas ציון. Sadigon says v'davar b'ito matov ein ze talui b'simchas hamadaber. Oh, sorry, that is a mistake. That is the I think that's the commentary of Sadigon. I accidentally copied the commentary. The translation of Sadigon is nothing. Okay, so we don't have a Sadigon on this one. All right, and then Targum, I think, is pretty straightforward. Chedvasa legavra b'milsa defume, joy to a person in the statement of his mouth. Actually, I guess he is taking a stance on the Amira. Umilsa b'idana, and a matter and a statement in its time. So he just kind of makes I guess mana into dibor. Segutava is very good. Okay. So is very good. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then our scroll says a man has joy through the reply of his mouth. So it's using the lamed as like possessive, like belongs to him. Joy, you know, he has joy through bet as through the reply of his mouth. V'davar be'ito matov, and how good is a word in its time. So they say davar is word. Rav Hirsch says a man has joy in the utterance of his mouth, and a word at the right time, how good it is. Alter also says there's joy for a man in an apt answer. Apt answer. Does he get apt? It doesn't really say. I guess that's kind of interpretation, right? I don't think you could put apt into. I'm trying to think of how.
Yeah. Sounds like davar be'ito sounds like apt.
Right. Yeah. So the second half I would get it, right? But for the first half, strange, right? And how good is a timely word? Yeah. You know, I would have. I always feel
Alter
weird.
also drops peeve.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. So I guess he's taking mane peeve as just an idiom, right? As like I don't know, a mouth answer. Must be a good answer. Yeah. The way Isaac translated matter is fine, but I do think though that dibur is the primary implication here, right? So I would say a statement in its time. I don't know why I feel like translating davar as word. I mean, davar Hashem is like the word of Hashem, but you know, statement I feel like is more fitting. So let's go like this. Yeah.
I feel like
and I'm going to say how good instead of what good, because I think that like ma tovu oholecha Yaakov is not what good, you know, right? Or ma rabu masacha Hashem, not what good.
What's good about
Yeah, right. Yeah. What do you say, Isaac?
Oh yeah, I feel like davar. I feel like the more like precise translation would be like maybe like utterance.
Mm-hmm.
Like because it's dibor.
Right.
But I guess the statement. Okay, never mind. I think statement.
Yeah, I think statement is probably for me the most generic, and I want to keep it that way for now. Or not more generic than matter, but more generic, speechy.
Yeah, I was gonna say anyway that I think statement is equally good in terms of meaning.
Yeah. Okay. So questions. Yeah.
How is this simcha?
Yeah.
How does the statement create simcha?
Right. How does the ma'aneh peeve create simcha? And then I am going to put in there what kind of simcha. Actually, no, I'm not gonna, I'll make that a separate question, right? What kind of simcha? Yeah. Yeah, Moshe.
Is the davar related to the ma'aneh peeve?
Right. So I'm gonna actually broaden that question and then make it specific. So what is the relationship between the two halves? Is the davar related to the ma'aneh peeve? Are they synonymous? Something else? Yeah, Isaac.
Is this true?
Okay, is this true? Is there a particular half or a problem? I guess.
Yeah. I'm asking more on the first half because I think the second half is a little more ambiguous what it's talking about, but like sometimes people have a statement or a response that they hate saying,
Right.
like sometimes it makes people happy, sometimes it makes people
Right.
sad.
Yeah. What are the parameters? I'll say, is it any mana peeve? Or only or a specific kind, and if the latter, why state it so generally?
What's the difference between simcha and tov?
Yeah. Okay, so matov. Well, that's interesting, right, because
I mean, the first one makes you happy, the last one is good.
yeah. I'm just trying to think how to frame that because you're not asking that it sounds the same. You're just asking why it uses two different things. Because some of it seems to me more like an objective evaluation, where simcha is
Right.
an emotional.
What's
Just the relationship.
Yeah.
And why does each one cause?
Yeah. I'm going to put that into this question here. What is the relationship between simcha and tov, given that simcha is an emotional reaction and matov sounds more like an objective evaluation. And so I'll say pairing with that, and if so, what is the emotion or objective evaluation for each other half? I know what I mean by that. Yeah. Moshe.
Might be a little similar.
Yeah.
Is the entire second half objective? Like, is the davar b'ito something that the ish is creating, or that's just a thing?
Right. So what is meant by matov, and then how does the davar b'ito? I guess how is the davar b'ito automatically tov? Right.
I guess I'm asking who is creating the davar b'ito.
Okay, yeah. So who is creating the davar b'ito?
Within that, what's the scenario?
Yeah, I think that's the overall question here. What is the scenario? Okay, what scenario, if any, are we talking about here? Yeah.
Just a translation question.
Yeah.
Can simcha mean joy or happiness?
Yeah. Do we have a simcha pasuk recently?
In ahava.
Yeah. We had two simcha pasukim. Yeah, Ben Chacham Yisamach Av, and then Yivela Simcha Lachasar Lev. Right. I don't know if that's important, but yeah. Right. And we had implication Simcha of Mishnah Tamid, but that's pretty far back. Yeah. Okay. I guess what makes it a davar b'ito, right? What is the quality of b'ito?
What is a mana peeve?
Yeah, we didn't ask that. What is a ma'aneh peeve? So let's say if it's any statement, then I guess saying statement, then I guess that gets back to the scenario question. I'll say if it's a reply, then does it matter what it's a reply to, or what kind of reply? Yeah. It seems much easier to say it's talking about a reply, but yeah, Isaac.
What are the opposites here? Are the two halves opposites of each other?
Yeah.
Or is there a hidden opposite?
Right. Say, are they opposites? Yeah. Are these opposites? Yeah, are they opposites? I guess there's a so what question, right? What's the practical application? So what? What's the practical? This sounds like it's just pointing out a phenomenon, or two phenomena. Two phenomena. What's the practical application?
Guess who's the audience also?
Yeah. What's the practical application? Who is the intended audience? Yeah, sounds very general, but let me just go back to the pasuk that we had before this. Who have we been talking about? Someone specific here? The last one was also very general. And the one before that was a pasar lev and an ish tbuna. And the one after this is a maskil, yeah. Okay, I feel like those are the main questions here. Yeah.
I have an idea.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh.
Basic, so maybe it could be developed more.
Sure.
But I think simcha is really limiting it. It's saying only simcha as opposed to tov. And I
okay.
think naturally, people like to talk and are very happy hearing themselves talk.
Yeah.
So it's saying that while a person generally wants to respond immediately and to any statement, it'll only make him happy because he likes it, but it won't ultimately, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you constrain yourself and only speak be'ito, then it'll actually lead to good.
Okay, so are you also saying that it's and so that by implication is also going to make you happy, right? If it's bito, right? I mean, because if what we're saying is true about people liking to hear themselves talk, right? So and that's the happiness here. So if you just automatically reply, then it'll make you happy. It'll bring you joy. But it won't necessarily be good. And I'm going to add something here, and may even be bad, which will, I guess, undermine the joy. Whereas if you refrain from speaking until you evaluate whether it's appropriate to speak here, then you'll get that joy, and it'll be good. Objectively good. And I'm going to add something here also, and the objective good will bring you joy, right? Yeah, so it's like a bonus, right? Yeah, Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to add like a particular scenario of this.
Yeah.
I think like in tochacha interactions, there's this emotional drive, like pain of seeing the other person.
Yeah.
And there's this joy of like telling them that what they're doing is like, because you genuinely care about them.
Yeah.
Not like because you want to like, or it could be because you want to, put them down. But I think a lot of times it's because you genuinely care about them.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's not the right time to say the thing. And then you end up ruining things both for you and them, for them,
right,
for everything. And it just becomes, you fed into this emotion in the wrong time of wanting to help them instead of thinking about what is the best way to help them, and is this the right time to say that?
Right. Okay, so you're saying this by way of example,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, right. So by way of example is rebuke maybe I guess giving rebuke can give you joy, whether for good or bad reasons. But unless it's delivered at the right moment, it'll cause more harm than good, and that will I guess that I'm going to use the same phrase, that can undermine the joy. Yeah,
I don't think we asked why you shouldn't do it in this proper time as a question, but I do think like depending on like, all right, so it's not the best time for things. I think sometimes you can't always know the perfect time,
right?
So there is that competing for shiur on this podcast.
Yeah, so just to put on my AP English cap for a second here. Let's see, do I have this? Hold on. I'm gonna find this. Okay, so while I'm going here, the AP English course is designed to be a course in rhetoric. Anyone have a working definition of rhetoric?
Ways of speaking in order to get people to adopt what you're saying.
Yeah, slightly broader. Yeah, right. Slightly broader is to persuade people, right? Is the art of persuasion, right? So there are what they call where I'm just trying to find my okay, this was a the Schnee-Weiss version. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So there are what we call the rhetorical appeals, okay, which are the three different I guess it's hard to define what the categories, but modes of persuasion. So very, very broadly speaking, ethos is how the character of the speaker or the writer influences the persuasiveness of what they're saying. Logos is the content itself, the ideas, and pathos is the emotions. So there's a machlokes whether kairos is a thing. Kairos means the timing, okay? And I'm in favor of saying that it is a separate appeal, because if you imagine, there are times where all of the right, like it's the right person saying the right thing and affecting the right emotion, but because they said it at the wrong time, then it changes the entire power of the thing, but the other side is to say that no, kairos is just an element of ethos or logos or pathos, it's not its own thing. But I think regardless of how you how pedantic you are about this, like timing is its own quality of persuasiveness, and that needs to be certainly on a practical level needs to be factored in. Okay, so that is a good basic thing. So now the question is this a complete idea, or can we or do we need to just bring it home to get the chidush?
Yeah.
I mean, I am taking a stance here that there are chidushim in Mishlei. They're not just simple proverbs. Yeah, Isaac?
Yeah. I have a couple of small additions to this.
Okay, sure. So I'm treating this as, you're saying as additions, right? Not as a new idea?
Yeah. So first off, I think simcha leish is saying it's just for simcha for the person.
That's
but
good.
not,
That's good. Yeah. Simcha leish is referring to the subjective nature of the simcha, right?
Yeah. And I'd say it's not just automatically replying. It's it could also be like jumping into a conversation just to hear yourself talk, basically.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Right. I'd say it's really any scenario where you're saying something just to hear yourself talk, not because.
Yeah, I don't think this is a singular type of simcha. I think sometimes it is like you want to feel like you contribute. Sometimes it is you like the. I mean, there is a phenomenon you like the sound of your own voice. Then it's just the attention. Sean.
I have a different approach.
Okay.
I was going to say one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that I think davar b'ito is not just timing, but it's also like the right situation, I think.
Yeah. Davar b'ito doesn't just mean the right timing, but the right circumstances. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like if you broaden it to the aces in Koheles, right? You've got there's a time for birth and a time to Loletus is to give birth, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot planting. So there are people who translate this as a season, and I think if you broaden ace to, like the song, right? If you broaden the term, I think when I first read this, our pasuk, then I thought like the timing of a good punchline or a joke or something like that, but it could be much, much broader. When you are, even as broad as, let's say, like giving to guidance to a kid, the age might be the wrong age to do that in. Yeah, right.
Does the second joy encompass both of them, or is it completely separate than the first?
The second joy you're talking about the matov. Yeah. So the way Ezra was saying it is, or the way I was interpreting Ezra saying it is that Matov is emphasizing the objective good, and then the implied thing is you get the joy of responding, and then there might also be a joy in seeing the results of your speech. So it does include. So the explicit reference is to the objective goodness of the statement, but there's an implied joy from the first half, and then there's an implied joy that presumably you like doing something good with your statement. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So just to clarify, you obviously are going to have to give up on the joy often because it's not a good time to speak.
Right.
So it's not like you're going for that joy, but it will be.
Correct. Yeah. And I think the fact that just from experience, I feel like it's not two separate. In other words, what happens is when you speak, let's think about it for a second, right? Could we maybe just get a little bit clearer what the joy is of and not that it's one joy of hearing yourself speak, but what I'm thinking about is the joy you get from davar b'ito the same thing as that first joy, but just like souped up, or is it like a, separate thing? Yeah.
Well, Dover Ito's joy is always contextualized.
Yeah.
I think the joy of just talking is that you might not even necessarily care about what the person asks. You might just be jumping at a pause for a break in the conversation to say what you have to say, because what you think you have to say is important, or it's groundbreaking, like new piece of information, and you just want that. Yeah, you just literally want to admit it's like sound waves and have
yeah.
So you're not caring about how it's going to fit into like the rest of the conversation, just people will react to it. Like
Yeah.
you say yourself.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think this gets to the subjective nature of the simcha. Like, yeah, like it's almost like the whole other scenario there is just like the like here's the question. If people really like the sound of their own voice, why don't they speak alone in a room? Like clearly it's not just the sound of your own voice, right? So you do need the circumstances there, but just as like a stage for you to like speak on,
Well, I'm just saying, how do you know they're not speaking alone in their own room?
I don't think that gives people do speak to themselves, but that doesn't give them the same joy. I don't think just experientially. I think there's a difference in in it impacting people. Yeah. I am. I'm going back now. I think the joy is too multifaceted here. I think there's ego. There's like making something happen. There's just a like almost like a childish, like when a kid makes a noise and then everyone looks and like smiles, whatever. Like it taps into like a very, 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 very primal thing of like, oh, I am important. Yeah. Maybe we can't dissect it too much. Yeah, Arya.
Yeah, maybe it's like if it's a good thing, I don't know what the right word is, but just say what you think is true, or I don't know if it's in terms of but whenever you feel like it, how more so when you say it, not only in terms of yourself but also in terms of the other person.
Yeah. I think that's the sense that I think there is a merger of the subjective simcha with that's the other thing also. Anything subjective, maybe this is part of anything subjective, I think does become more enjoyable the more real it is. So the very fact, so if I'm saying something and it is not objectively good for you guys, then I get a joy out of it. But when it is good for you and we share in the joy, obviously each of us is only feeling our own feelings, but like it does make the subjective dimension more enjoyable because it's more real, irrespective of like whatever other good it accomplishes. Okay, Sean, you have a second interpretation.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it in terms of a person liking to talk about their feelings, and there's a cathartic release of talking about your feelings. But sometimes if you talk about your feelings in the wrong time, ends up doing more damage because it's not the right time to be thinking about these things or talking about these things.
Yeah.
And so even though there always will be this cathartic aspect of just letting your feelings out by speaking about them, you can also end up doing yourself damage. And so realizing that you should be intentional about when you talk about the things that are bothering you. And it's not always the right time to just blab about what's bothering you.
Yeah, right. So that's a good thing. Are you getting something from the pasuk that it's about talking about your feelings, or
no?
Okay,
I was just defining mana piv.
Yeah. I just want to look back at the context and see if there are any context clues again from the other.
What is cathartic?
Cathartic means like it's pleasurable. It feels nice.
It's like a release of
It's a release of pent up emotions.
Yeah, I mean it is interesting. That's interesting. Okay, I not relate to your thing, but I'm just wondering here also about the if we interpreted sod in the last pasuk as secret, then like I wonder if there could be a davar b'ito interpretation along those lines. But yeah,
I know Chazal say that sometimes it's good to talk about what's bothering you, and sometimes it's bad to talk about what's bothering you. So that was kind of factoring into my approach.
Yeah. So the common ground between these two interpretations right here, common ground, is that there's a trap. Let me think about it for 1 second here.
Trap of ignoring kairos.
Yeah, no, I want to say that there is a trap when certain kinds of speech, which may be according to what we're saying, all speech, inherently feels good. There's a trap of mistaking the good feeling for the good quality of the speech. I mean, that's going to be the common ground here as well. I'm just going to articulate this here, is that like whenever there's an inherent good feeling attached to speech, okay, whether to speak, the act of speaking in general, or like that's Ezra's idea, or to a particular kind of speaking, okay, that's Sean's idea. The trap is to mistake the good feeling for goodness of the statement. And I feel like many interpretations of this pasuk are going to go into that. Yeah. All right, should we look at meforshim? Okay, so let's start with David. I'm just going to use the one on Ala Torah because it's more accessible here. All right, so he says, Simcha, kol ish yismach be'imre, that's a long one for David. Yismach be'imre fiv. Every person takes joy in the statements of his mouth. Ki yumtak lo atzas nafsho, because his own counsel, I think nafsho means like his own counsel, is sweet to him. About davar beito, mama od huto, but a statement in its time is very good. Ratzalomar, af im lo yihye atas nafsho, interesting, even if it's not his own advice, behaskel, with intelligence, ve'af im hitzliach beha'etza hahi bedavar kiyotzebo, and even if im hitzliach beha'etza hahi bedavar kiyotzebo, what do you think that means?
His advice is successful. The subject matter he's giving it.
I mean, he's able to influence things the way in which he wants to.
Yeah, but what's the off? That implies like it's a chidush, right?
He was saying that your statement's not with seifa. So
I thought he was saying it is with seifa. Oh, in lo ye it's a snapshot. Oh, that's interesting.
It's not.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, I translated it
that
wrong.
idea,
Right.
and it's still going to feel good, and even when it works out,
It's not even yours.
Right. Yeah, we'll finish the sentence, I guess, maybe. Not all times are equal. Oh, see, we are going back to the Eitzah thing.
Yeah.
All right, so that would be the more proper context clue, is advice, right? Ulai hayotim yugalu ozno lemor lo es ata la'asos kazos. Maybe the advisors will clue you into the fact that this is not the time to do this. It was a little bit convoluted at the end. Yeah.
is this saying to share your ideas even if they're not good because advisors will let you know?
Oh, that's interesting. All right, let's try that out. Hold on a second. Simcha ish kol ish yismach be'imrei fiv ki yumtak lo atzas nafsho. So that would be, I think he's framing it as atzas nafsho because you're not asking for advice at this point, right? Meaning you are attached to your own advice, your own counsel, right? Aval davar beito mama oto v'ratzalomar af im lo yihye atzas nafsho behaskel. Behasechel, I don't know if that makes any, if that can read.
Yeah.
In the intelligence, I think Bahaskel is with intelligence. Even if your own advice will not be with intelligence, or see, I think what that means is even if this advice would be successful for something similar, right? Not all times are equal. And maybe the advisors will clue you in and tell you, it's not time to do this.
I don't understand. Are you giving advice?
That's what I'm not sure, and that's what I'm not sure about. Yeah.
I feel like they're giving advice.
Yeah.
How I'm reading it is a person can talk themselves into things because it's very pleasurable to say whatever ideas they have. And, they like what they're saying and what they're hearing themselves say. So it's always good because you don't know what the time is of proper engagement of this principle or whether or not this actually really applies. It's always good, no matter how good your idea is, how bad your idea is, to talk with other people so that you can apply it in the right way.
Yeah, so just tell me one more time, answer Moshe's question. Is this talking, who's the audience here? Is it the guy who has the idea, and he now has a choice whether to seek advice or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just combining it with the last pasuk and saying,
Right.
It's like a parish on why the last pasuk happens. I mean, why don't people go for advice? Because their ideas sound so good to them,
Right.
and then, and that's a true reality. Your ideas are going to sound good to you, but ultimately, you want your ideas to be in the proper time, and so you should go to council.
Right.
It's weird that he's
the time thing is just weird to me. It doesn't like I get the merging with the previous pasuk. Yeah, Ezra.
Maybe slightly different.
Yeah.
Maybe what he's saying is that it's explaining the benefit of the advisors.
Yeah.
Is that you're gonna have a good idea and you're gonna like it because it's your own idea.
Yeah.
Even if it may not be in the right time, and the advisors are gonna help you recognize that although it's a good idea and that's why you're attracted to it, it's not the proper time.
Right. So I think that's pshat. Now I want to find the idea, but let me just type out the pshat first of all. Is a Mitzudas David is this is connected to the previous pasuk and is explaining a trap which might lead a person not to seek advice. Namely, he'll inherently like his own plan and be attached to it. But if he seeks advice, they might show him that his plan is good, but this isn't the right time. So now my question is, why introduce this element of timing? I just don't. It feels like artificially shoving in an idea here. Yeah, Isaac.
I think if you have a plan that seems good, to yourself, you're not going to want to take advice because you're like, my plan's good. But I feel like this is this is a way where advice can be helpful to you that doesn't
doesn't contribute anything to the plan itself.
Yeah, that doesn't. I'd say doesn't like fight with your ego. Like conflict with your ego, like because the advisors might tell you, your plan's totally good. Just in terms of implementing it, this might not be the right time. I feel like that's less like emotionally difficult to hear because
I still am bothered why I focus on that specific type of thing, especially because the first half does seem to be saying that regardless of how good or bad your plan is, you're gonna get a simcha out of it. All right, let's set this aside. Let's do Rביnu Yona.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I think it's that. I think maybe it's that there's a trap. Maybe the first half is emphasizing that there's a trap of not wanting to seek advice because you have simcha about your plans and you don't want anyone to kill that simcha by saying, "Oh, there's a problem with your plan."
So it's telling you that you should still share it because maybe they'll tell you it's a good plan and just tell you it's a different timing.
Yeah, almost like a way to work around the emotion that's stopping.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's do Rביnu Yona. We can come back to this tomorrow. Okay, so Rביnu Yona says, "Simple ish b'maneh fiv v'davar bito matov derech ha'adam sheyismach b'maneh piv kasher yidaber nechona." So it's in the way of a person to rejoice in the reply of his mouth when he speaks well. So that's also different from the way we were taking it, because we were saying any speech, right? But this is when you have a good statement. But af gamzos, nevertheless, davar bito matov. Al kain yaniach ha'adam es derech tivo shu misave b'chol eis ladaber mash ola belibo min hanachochos. Okay, so therefore, a person should set aside his nature, which yearns or which lusts, desires, at all times to say what occurs to his heart from that which is nechochos. Now, nechochos literally means that which is present or that which is proven, right? Like nochach. I don't know what nechochos is here specifically. What 43 says, "B'drashos parshas mitzora nosach v'sheish lo simcha b'kach." All right, fine. V'yimshol b'tavaso, and he should rule over his desire. V'lo yidaber rak davar b'ito. You should only say something in its time. Alpha pisha simcha leish b'maneh piv. That's very similar to what you were saying, right?
Yeah, but I don't know why he's saying in the beginning that it's only good ideas.
Yeah, me neither.
I guess because you're not gonna be happy if you say something bad and then everyone is either blankly stares at you or
Right. Yeah. Nechochos.
People still get joy from that.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea. They just like.
Yeah, they just like saying it. Yeah.
They are bad. Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean the real raya is when you're I mean this I guess sometimes happens in shiur, but most happens when there's a like balabatim of like people raising their hands and then just saying something completely like unrelated, and like they get and they get a lot of joy out of it and just totally not registering that it has nothing to do with anything. Yeah. Yeah. I think I used to have a term for that kind of thing, especially with like 9th and 10th grade girls, that I think I used to call it my uncle had a pony, like they start to say something and it's not like starting to real. I think I used to say like, is this just gonna be my uncle had a pony, like as a completely like irrelevant like statement type of thing, yeah. So I guess the only question Rבינו Yona is why is he giving any specificity to the type of statement about it being good and nechochos? Not sure about that. Because this would seem to apply, it's not just why is he saying it here, but like it would, the type of simcha he's talking about seems to be like what Ezra was talking about, is like people enjoy hearing themselves talk. Yeah.
Is he creating a havamina that you might think that by true ideas, the time for them is always good?
Right.
Oh, that's a good idea, regardless if that's what he's saying. Right. Yeah. That's an interesting thing also. Okay. I'm gonna write this one down here. So this is Sean's theory on Rבינו Yona. So the question was, why does Rבינו Yona specify good statements or proven statements? I don't know if that's the right translation. Why not talk about, or I guess interpret it this as all talking, right? So sorry, all talking. So the havamina is that it's always a good time to share truth. Right. Yeah. Kamash Malan, no. No. Right. I mean, because communication, is for all parties involved. And if the statement and just because the statement is true, just because the statement is true and it serves you, doesn't mean it's going to achieve, to have a kiyum in the recipients. Right. Yeah. So that I do like that, just because it is a havamina that I think is easy to have, Yeah. Okay. Let's do Meiri. Moving right along here. Oh boy. He tied this to the, oh my. Okay. Let's save Meiri for tomorrow. Let's do someone else now. Okay. Let's do
Just an example.
Yeah, sure.
Help with childhood is that I think often people like will insult somebody or something, and
Yeah.
they'll like say, "Oh, why you did it?" They're like, "What do you mean? It's true." Like they feel like it's
Yeah.
justified.
Right. Yeah. Been there. Yeah. Okay. Let's do Rabag. Rabag says, "Simcha ish b'manei piv. Hine yismach ha'adam ha'ish b'dibur piv kishihi lo l'daber el hamelech o el hagadol." Whoa. Okay. So he says, person will rejoice in the statement of his mouth when he has to speak to the king or to someone who's prominent. V'amnam ha'roi tzila sheyishtadol sheyeh diburo be'ito haroi b'shiyaktim lo ma sheroi likdom kidavar bitomato. But he should first strive to make sure that his statement is going to be proper by considering in advance what he's gonna say. Yeah. So where does he get that is talking in front of a prominent person? That does not seem to be from the context, right? But this is another interesting trap, right? I feel like there is a thing where you become so intimidated by the person who you're talking to that somehow like all thinking and planning just goes out the window. Like I could definitely experience. I've experienced that before.
That was a simcha though.
Right. I guess the simcha here would be in getting to talk to this person.
Right. You're getting attention from them. It doesn't matter what you're
Yeah,
saying.
right. I finally got a chance to, yeah. I'm thinking about your skit, but the person's gonna talk in front of the king. But yeah. So Rabag. So again, I don't know where he's getting this from. Yeah, I don't know where he's getting this from, but we'll say it anyway. Is that there's a similar trap that when you speak with someone great, the pleasure of that conversation is so extreme that that you don't properly think about what you're saying and end up misspeaking. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this probably also happens when people encounter a celebrity, or like sometimes you see like you have a particular example in mind?
No, I know that people word vomit around celebrities.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You sometimes see this with interviewers interviewing celebrities on the red carpet, and they just say really, really dumb things, and like you want to ask yourself, like, okay, like, isn't your job to be an interviewer? So like, shouldn't you think about your questions ahead of time? But you get starstruck, and then you just like end up, yeah. Anyone ever seen the old Chris Farley interviewing celebrities thing? Oh yeah, no. This is the I'll have to send it in the chat. Yeah. But for those who know, they know. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, the closest I can get for where he gets this from is ma'aneh does imply that there are two parties in the speech, but I mean that's true in general. I don't know where he's getting from that. It's a yeah. Arya?
The Tov be not like in terms of your pleasure, but in terms of like positive things you're gonna receive.
Yeah.
You're talking to the kid, yeah, and that's a great opportunity maybe to look at like something, but if you think about it, you can get a lot more.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, the Rabag didn't spell out the second half, but the second half is pointing out that if you do think about the proper thing to say, not only, again, similar to the pattern of Ezra's idea, not only will you experience the joy of that conversation, but you will actually, but the conversation might yield an actual benefits. May yield actual benefits, and I'm going to add here, and likely grant you, or I guess increase your chances of getting to talk to this person again. You know what he might be getting it from? This is a stretch, but la ish. Ish would be a prominent person, but grammatically, I don't know how. Simcha la ish bima'ane piv. Can you read that as it's a simcha for the non-ish, like the non-prominent person when talking to an ish? Is like there's simcha in replying well to an ish. Maybe that's how he's getting it. Yeah. Maybe there's okay. There's it. How is he reading this? Is there is a simcha for a man in replying well to an ish, prominent person. Yeah, that must be where he's getting it from. Yeah. Okay. I also feel like there's some grammatical nuance in la ish instead of leish.
Yeah. Well,
right.
To the.
Yeah, the man.
Wait, what's the difference between la and le?
To the as opposed to a.
Wait, la is to the?
To the, yeah. Right.
In the response, can the response be back on like somebody else's response to you?
Simcha.
In terms of how you're reading la'ish.
La'ish. The simcha of a man is
the response.
Yeah. I think you could read it that way. I don't think Rabag is reading it that way though, right? Yeah. All right. Let's stop here for today, and then tomorrow let's tackle the giant Meiri, and then we'll go to our friend Rubin Shashes. It would be nice to get the Matsudas, but it is messy. Yeah. Okay. Stop here.
Thank you.
Yeah.